Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena from Wholeness Campaign, and today I'm going to share with you why I don't believe in using antifungals to treat things like Candida overgrowth or bacteria overgrowth from SIBO or whatnot, even antiparasitics for parasitic overgrowth. I'm going to go into why that doesn't address the root cause and what potential symptoms that could actually cause in the long run. So let's jump in. So to really understand why I don't recommend antifungals, besides the fact that I've heard from countless people coming to me after taking them saying that their symptoms got worse. Maybe that's you, maybe you're in that camp. But the real reason is because I don't believe it actually addresses the root issue. And because it doesn't address the root issue, it actually can make your symptoms worse. Let me explain this. To understand that, you need to know how Candida actually works. So if you can think of Candida or any yeast for that matter, there's actually probably way more yeasts than you can even know of in our body because we've only studied Candida, but there's probably dozens more, if not hundreds more yeasts in the body, pathogenic forms of yeast. But let's just take Candida for an example because it's the most studied and researched. If you can think of yeast as like a jelly donut, I got this analogy from Lauren Meadowsweet, and I've also heard Dr. Becky Plotner share about it. But if you think of yeast like a jelly donut where the jelly is on the inside, which I believe is the toxin, and the breading on the outside is the yeast. The breading, the yeast, or even parasites act like this, and bacteria, they overgrow in the presence of toxins. It's actually your body's unique way of cushioning your vital organs, your brain, your heart, your lungs from toxicity. So if you've got a high heavy metal load in the body, then the yeast, the parasites, the bacteria is going to overgrow in order to compensate, in order to clean up the toxins. So in this jelly donut analogy, you picture in the center being the jelly, that's actually the toxin. You've got a toxin there. So what's essentially happening is you've got this jelly donut, and a lot of people think that if they just starve the Candida so they don't feed it sugar because it thrives off of sugar, carbs, all of that they can just get rid of it. But what that actually is going to do is it's going to shrink down the layer of Candida overgrowth so that it's not causing symptoms. But anytime that people go and reintroduce foods that feed that Candida, it's going to bloom back up again. When people go ahead and try to kill it with antifungals, though, what's essentially going to happen is the Candida is going to die and your body is going to be left unprotected with this jelly donut, this toxin that's now going to be flooding your system. And especially knowing that these antifungals have such extreme potency, you're not just killing off a little bit of yeast when you go in there, you're killing off probably colonies of yeast that overgrew in order to clean up deep levels of toxicity in the body. So now all of a sudden, your body is overwhelmed with toxins that it's got to learn how to filter on its own. Often, this doesn't work out very well. You can see people start to develop a lot of liver congestion, symptoms associated with liver issues because the organ that's meant to be actually filtering toxins in the body is now overburdened because it's got so many toxins to filter because the Candida was actually doing a job in the body. As much as I love the movement towards more natural things, recognizing the role of all these different bacteria in the body and wanting to see balance come back, you have to understand that those pathogens have a function in the body. And so when we go ahead and kill them, just think about going and spraying something organic all over a yard and killing off a species. If you're into regenerative agriculture, you might understand this, but that was actually a part of an ecosystem. That was a part of a food chain that's actually going to be affected by killing off that specific species. Well, the same thing is happening in your body, and toxicity becomes something that can be really difficult to eliminate effectively, and it will start to store in tissues. It starts to become a much bigger problem than the rashes that you were having, the reflux that you had, the IBS symptoms that you had that were correlated to yeast overgrowth. So in order to really get to the root of the problem, we need to give up this whole idea that we've got to kill to be effective. We've got to give up this whole idea that we just need another protocol. We just need another, herb or homeopathic remedy just to kill off and bring balance, something like external to you. And we have to actually get our body's natural detox systems working properly because that's the reason that the Candida is even feeling the need to hang around in the first place is because your body's detox pathways are clogged up very likely. And your beneficial bacteria in your body are not strong enough and able to do that job well enough. So this is why the approach that I take is very much a food first approach, because we actually have to get your body to a place of strength and a robust microbiome so that you can start to eliminate toxins in a safe and effective way, in a way that actually lets your body be back in control and doing the work that it's supposed to be doing in the first place. So what I find in clients who have come to me after doing a round of this is that they often have symptoms such as dizziness, such as headaches, these really common toxicity symptoms. Maybe they're experiencing nausea, maybe they're experiencing extreme diarrhea that just won't go away. I've heard stories of people saying that they had IBS before and they did a anti-parasitic cleanse, and it got 10 times worse, because what ended up happening is they killed off all of these pathogens, and now their body was left to do all the detox work on its own. So it went into overdrive, and diarrhea, vomiting, migraines, liver congestion. These are all signs that we see when the body is struggling to actually eliminate toxins. But I don't just want to leave you hanging. Obviously, I don't just believe we sit back and wait for your body to somehow figure it out, because I think in our day and age, our bodies are already overloaded. They need our support. But how can we come alongside it in a way that isn't hijacking its natural process? And this is the question. So the first thing I think that is super important and very, very often overlooked is we need to address leaky gut. Unless we address leaky gut, we don't have a foundation. We don't have a mechanism that is actually there to deal with the toxins before they get out of control. So it's kind of like when I think of healing and sealing leaky gut, it's like the stopping the bleeding phase. Not literally, maybe literally, but we're actually going to stop the metaphorical bleeding. We want to make sure that the gut lining is actually sealed so that the mucous membrane can start to regenerate. And actually there's substances in that mucous membrane that are meant to chelate heavy metals. So that jelly that I was talking about earlier, there's substances in our gut lining that should be there. They're often not there, but they should be there in a healthy microbiome that helps you to eliminate them on their own. So ideally, your body's not calling for backups. Your body's not having to overgrow all these pathogens to take care of the problem. If you've got that healthy gut lining, you start to be able to actually chelate on your own. And that's the goal. That's actually the place that I always want to move all of my clients to. The best thing you can do for this is introducing meat stock into your diet. And I just created a $17 meat stock mini course. It's very cheap. I want everybody to be able to have access to it because it is literally step one. And the meat stock mini course basically gives you everything you need to source, make, and introduce meat stock effectively. I created a sourcing guide that is global. It has resources from all around the world. And the mini course basically teaches you my recipe. I take you along in a kitchen to show you exactly the right cuts of meat, the water to meaty bones ratio that you need to actually be effective in healing and sealing the gut lining. I teach you how to introduce it. It is literally everything that I wish I had when I was starting out making meat stock, so that you're not making it incorrectly and you're actually using the substance that is research backed to heal the gut lining, to spackle it like you can picture spackling a wall that has holes. If you're going to take spackle, it literally seals the holes, the intestinal permeability. That's the research term. So go ahead and check out that mini course. I will have the link below for you to purchase. You have to deal with leaky gut. It has to be done. It must be done. And then there's no quick fixes around it. The best, most effective way to do it is to build your body's tolerance to large amounts of meat stock, 5 to 8 cups of meat stock a day. That's a lot of meat stock, I know, but it's really about getting that amount of collagen and gelatin and all the amino acid building blocks needed to seal leaky gut. That's number one. We need your body to start doing the detox work for you. Number two is that you need to actually outweigh the pathogenic yeast. So if we're talking about yeast in this scenario, we need to outweigh the beneficial yeasts to the pathogenic yeast. So that means we are giving our body mega doses of beneficial yeast in the form of kefir. Honestly, you guys, that's just as basic as it can get. You can do other fermented foods. You can do fermented brines. You can do fermented, you can eat your pickles. You can eat your sauerkraut. All of that's great. Kefir is the king of the ferments, meaning that it has the largest diversity of microbes and beneficial yeasts of any ferment that's out there. So it's the most effective. You got to go very slow. This is what I walk clients through. We want to try to find your therapeutic dose of kefir, but that's something you'd want to work towards. And if any amount of probiotics gives you a flare up, then I totally understand that. You need to work on getting your body's tolerance built up to where you can tolerate larger amounts of the beneficial microbes. Even a little bit at first is going to start to kill off some of that yeast overgrowth. Believe it or not, probiotics are probably better than any of the antifungals that are out there. This is my point with this whole video, is that you actually don't need to buy expensive antifungals. If you replace it with beneficial bacteria, you're basically going to kick them out on their own. You're building a microbiome that fights these pathogens for you instead of cleaning it all out, making it sterile, which is not what we want, and then having to put more beneficial bacteria and hope that the pathogens don't overgrow again too fast that it gets out of balance again. And then you eat some sweet food and all of a sudden it's out of balance again. So my goal is always to have you have a resilient microbiome. I want lots of beneficial bacteria. I just did a video on spore-based probiotics, which I'll have linked below as well if you're interested in getting an actual capsule. They tend to survive longer in the GI tract, but the cool thing about it is that there's spore-based probiotics in your kefir. So kefir is king in this instance. And the third thing you're going to do after you've done food-based things is that you're going to slowly work on assisting these toxins out of your body. Now, this has been done wrong by so many people, and most of the internet has this backwards. Most of the internet starts here. We have to have the foundations first, but that being said, we want to do two things. We want to clear out your detox pathways. So that means that you're making sure your detox pathways are actually functioning. Your liver, your lymph, your lungs, gallbladder, your colon, all of it. You want to make sure that your detox pathways are actually functioning properly. You don't want to be binding to toxins and taking all these binders that get metals out and chelating too fast before your detox pathways are actually opened up. Otherwise, they literally will just sit there in your body still, and they won't be able to be eliminated. So you need to clear your detox pathways first. And then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to actually work to mobilize the toxins. And this is something that I only really recommend doing with the guidance of somebody who has experience with chelating heavy metals, because you need to know what to look for, and you need to know what to do when the yeasts die off too fast. You need to know what to do when the heavy metals feel like they're swirling your system, and you need to know how to actually navigate the introduction process to the right substances. There's a whole process of doing heavy metal chelation safely, and I have a video on it if you're interested in learning more and digging a little bit deeper as to why I think it's so often done wrong and why it's so important to your healing process. But you actually do have to mobilize the toxins. Oftentimes your body, being stuck in such a toxic world like we're in, needs the support to actually get the toxins out of your body. Otherwise, they do get stored there. And I want to see them come out so that yeast, that jelly donut layer, that the breading can die off for good, not just shrink back, but actually die off so that you don't need antifungals to kill them all off, so that you're not disrupting the delicate balance of bacteria in your gut by taking all these antifungals. You're not hijacking your immune system by killing off beneficial bacteria too. I actually think that the most loving way to treat your body in any instances is never to kill something that has a reason for being there, but it's to shift the environment slowly. So there's actually like a whole documentary on this farm that I don't even know what the name of it is, but I'll try to look it up, where they try to do everything very regeneratively, and to the point where they see certain species of animals overgrowing on their farm, and they end up having to, like, they're not trying to kill because they know the power of disrupting an ecosystem, but they find this natural route, this really holistic route, to be very tricky, and you have to be strategic and know the types of species that you're working with. You need to know what their food source is, what keeps them around, what actually drives certain obnoxious species of animals to go away. This farm, I don't know, they go through this whole documentary taking you through the hardships of doing it the natural way, but also how they see victory in the end of motivating certain species of animals to leave and motivating others to come. And you've kind of heard of this if you've been in the gardening space for any while. I'm not claiming to be a gardener, but what I do know is that you can be this careful and gentle and holistic and regenerative with your gut microbiome. And I really, really love that type of approach. I think it's the most sustainable long-term approach. I think people that go ahead and kill off often find that other symptoms come back, and maybe those practitioners who are recommending those kill protocols, they don't tell you that because the original symptom went away, and so it looks like a victory to them. But what they're not telling you is that person had weeks and weeks where their immune system was low, or they started flaring up other symptoms, or they got a totally different issue, or they may have developed an autoimmune condition. And I know that sounds extreme, but these things can happen when we aren't treating the body holistically, when we just go after symptoms, even if they're natural solutions. So I hope you got value out of this video. If you got any value out of this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. We would love to have you here. I do just want to put a plug that if you are ready to go a little bit deeper deeper and you want some of your questions answered live, I have a free community through Kajabi that is off the internet, and you can go ahead and access it in the description box below. But my hope for that community is just to be able to see you and meet you all face to face, answer some questions, and give you guys a perspective that is truly root cause oriented instead of sort of the symptom management that's been around in the natural health space for quite a while. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.